My name's Jennifer too, and I'm an undergraduate at Harvard College studying neurobiology. So I'm the summer director of Music in Hospitals and Nursing Homes Using Entertainment as Therapy, which rolls right off the tongue, MIHNUET for short. And so this summer, I had the opportunity to visit more than 7 nursing homes every day of the week and build relationships across the summer. This project was, I think, initially meant to strengthen these relationships by bringing in the stories of the elderly that we were visiting and creating something with our performers to make something that both we as young artists and the elderly as people who are leaving their legacies could be part of. So I was part of the project bringing in the music aspect as well as my experiences working with the audience and drawing upon their stories.
My name's Jake Waxman, and I recently graduated with a BA in theater. I sort of came on to the project as, sort of a theater contractor. Someone who just had done performance art before and was coming from that perspective. So I sort of, along with acting in the film that was in the performance, I helped write it. I helped find the people for it.
And you wrote the script and
right.
everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you did the filming part. It's like everything.
Well, we all did the filming, so.
One of the main goals of MIHNUET is to build positive relationships between Harvard students and the elders and hospital patients that we encounter. And part of that is actually getting to talk with them and getting to know them as people after our performances. It's just so important to be present and for musicians to return to the same places and see these familiar faces over and over. And so over time, I felt that this summer, for example, I got to know people by name, and when I returned, I would ask them, how did your surgery go, or how are your grandkids doing, and people would be able to tell me, and it's just like leaving off where we ended last. And I like to say that we have a good fan base because the people at different nursing homes and hospitals come to see us perform, and so our performers really get to know the people there, getting an understanding of these people and how they're not that different from us, even though they're many generations away. Well, not many, like 1 or 2, that they have so much in common with us, and that we have a lot of stories that we can tell them and they can tell us. After our performances, about 45 minutes, we would always leave time just to chat with people. So there was really no formal qualitative research aspect, but it was very easy for us to chat with people, write down their stories, reflect on them. And so by the end of 6 to 7 weeks of the summer, we had a list of very powerful, emotional stories. And so for this project, we were able to review these and write down brief summaries of each one and select one that really spoke to us for this project.
There were 3 goals, and 2 of them were directly related to the performance of the project, and the third one was related to the sort of creation of it. We wanted everyone to learn as they created this. We wanted them to develop new skills, which ties into it having all these people from different backgrounds, and each person is working to their strength, but they're also teaching other people from their backgrounds. The second goal was to sort of compartmentalize the show so that we could completely recreate it. It's great to see the effects of one show, but to really bring change to a problem, you need to do more than one thing. So we wanted to create something that could be recreated really by anyone. The third goal, obviously, was to have a good effect on our audience. There is a medical basis for reducing social isolation through this show. So the show does have scientific grounding for actually helping these people. Our sort of hypothesis was that if we showed them that they're still teaching us, that they're still imparting these lessons to us, that they're gonna feel like there's still a spot for them in society, which is going to keep them thinking, which is going to keep them talking, which is going to keep them doing things and living life, which, as we all know, reduces the risk of dementia and Alzheimer's in the elderly. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of the main positive effect we were going for.
One time I got to see one woman, her calendar was just full of doctor's appointments, and like every day, and she always told me, oh, I wish they played more classical music, but you guys are like the only people who bring that into here. And she said she really looked forward to these performances every week.
The show was designed to be put together a bunch of different ways and by really anyone. So the way we thought about that a lot, and we sort of settled on the idea that we wanted a linear show, something with one storyline that went through it, nothing too long. But the problem is that, you know, when you have a linear storyline, everything needs to fit together, obviously. So we came up with the idea of putting together this sort of compartmentalized show that had a bunch of different parts that when you went into the rehearsal process came together, and then all of a sudden you had this show. So we thought the easiest sort of, I don't know if easiest is the right word, but we decided to use a bunch of different types of multimedia and performance art to sort of tell this story. And
I think it worked out well. We had the music part, and then that was to warm up the audience and get them kind of loosened up. And then we would have a sing-along,
well, before the sing-along, too, we'd have the music and the dancers to sort of...
Oh, yeah, like the improv.
We had the improv sections.
Mm-hmm. So that sort of got the audience thinking, like, what is this?
Yeah. We introduced the dancers before this sort of multimedia presentation in the regular MIHNUET show, by having them come on and dance to some of the classical music that you guys were already playing. Yeah, and that sort of eased them into the fact that there'd be dancers there.
And then we went into a sing-along to get the audience engaged.
It was very good.
So then the film came, and that was A Quiet Drive by B. Jacob Waxman. And
right.
Yeah.
Now, originally the film was originally a theater piece, and we changed it just because of room. But, I mean, we did the film, and we wrote it sort of based on the stories that Jen had gathered from all these elderly folks at the nursing homes. And we chose one main story to sort of base the actual setting of the story on, and then the other stories sort of came in as themes, and the film sort of led in, and then the music picked up near the end of the film. We had a Still I Rise by Maya Angelou as a poem in the film, and then the dancers came out and danced to it. It was really cool. We reached this sort of crescendo, and I think most people got it. I think we really delivered the message well of that this was their story.
Just like hope springing high, still I'll rise.
They really seemed to get it. I was a little surprised. I was like, yes. Yeah. The point of that compartmentalization is to create pieces of the show before we need to really put them together. The film, A Quiet Drive, we actually we went into a garage and actually filmed that with a green screen and a crew.
Oh man, that was crazy.
Yeah, we went in there in one. The filming actually took 2 days. There was an external and interior shoot, and we how many people do we have there that day?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
There was quite a few people. I mean, it was a big project, but
At least 10.
Yeah, but the really cool thing is that for the talent, we only needed 2 people in the show. And us and the crew, obviously. So it ended up being like 15 people in that little garage. We almost got kicked out too. Yikes. But we did this film completely separately from the rest of the rehearsal process. And then, as we went in, we choreographed the dance with the dancers. But that wasn't with the music, and you guys learned the music separately. And then we had 3 rehearsals, right?
Yeah, just 3 rehearsals.
Yeah, and only one of them with the actual poem, because we had to fit the dance to the poem. So, the only thing that really required everything to be there at once was that last rehearsal, which was really cool because we were able to. I was able to go with the dancers, and Jen was able to work with the musicians, and then we'd get everything ready to be worked together, and then when we were ready, we'd come together and we'd say, all right, let's put this all together. We'd put it together, and then immediately go off. And because of that, it's really easy with low amounts of resources to put all this together, because you can work on one thing very individually and very separately. And really do a good job with it. Mm-hmm. And then, put it together and have this collaboration, which is where the real genius comes out, because you see these problem solving start happening. For example, we thought the poem would be too slow, because originally in the rehearsal, we were just reading it out. And then we brought the audio from the film in, from Lindsay doing it. And, we were a little worried because we'd choreographed the whole dance to this sort of rhythm, and we weren't sure whether it would work with that. So we had to do, it doesn't quite fit together completely perfectly, but that's where you have these really inspiring moments of creativity by all the artists, and we had uncountable little moments of times when people just came up with solutions that fixed everything.
Yeah, I think at every site there were some limitations. So the first place, we had no place to put the projector, so you actually had to hold it up.
That's right.
And it worked out. I just felt really bad for you because you were really, really sweaty and just holding a really big, heavy projector. I wish we got a photo of that or something.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't.
Oh man. That second place didn't have a piano, so as a musician I was like, oh my god, I'm so helpless. But luckily we were able to bring videos, and I kind of rationalized it as, let me get some videos of concertos and things with orchestras or chamber music groups to bring even more people into the space virtually. And I think that worked out. People seem to enjoy it a lot.
We're probably, 50 people involved in this project? And truly every single one, it wouldn't have been possible with 49. But out of these 50 people, we had Marlon and Sue, who were, they're sort of our bosses.
Yeah.
They are our bosses. And the biggest thing they did for us was give us a shot at explaining what we wanted to do.
Definitely. And Sue is actually, I think, the impetus for this entire project. I told her about MIHNUET.
That's right.
And then she said, well, Jake here is a producer and actor and writer. Why don't you two do something? And I think just call to do something turned into this huge project.
I think those 2 words are sort of the theme of what they wanted from us. Is they wanted us to do something and sort of whatever that took, make something, and we did, and it wouldn't have been possible at all without those 2, or anyone else on the crew.
not every day that someone sets up a complex shoot.
Yeah, that'd
In your
be. It
parking
seems like a
garage.
good day to me personally.
We got to see what was wrong with the garage and how we can troubleshoot it, and coming up with super creative ideas like sticking poles into the front of Jake's car and Kurt taping garbage bags to the light.
It's a little bit warm.
Yeah.
So.
He doesn't leave because I'm a woman, he leaves because there's no AC in the car.
But Laura was super nice and she brought us water. So
Yeah, but then Laura saved everything like she always does. It was kind of cool having the actors around. It felt like we were doing
The talent,
I mean, yeah. It felt like we were doing something real.
Am I not allowed to move my head at all?
And it was cool to see how Marlon directed them.
Yeah.
Like his insight on what would look cool, like having Jake stand in front of the car and having her, do certain movements or sit in a certain way. So those are all things I never thought about.
It was sort of exciting that we were about to get kicked out.
Done and take it down as fast as you can.
That's true.
Kind of made it a little bit more dangerous or something.
Yeah.
My favorite line was, just because you have 4 parking spots doesn't mean you can do anything you want.
I was like, it kind of does when you have 4 parking spots.
Wait, did he say that?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
That's
so has 4
hilarious.
parking spots.
What's exciting about video production as something for students to do is that you encounter a lot of problems. And those problems are not kind of accidental external elements we would hope to do away with. They're actually kind of part of the point, because learning to overcome those obstacles is actually a really exciting exercise. And I think that's one of the things that I saw all of the students doing, both at the shoot and then after the shoot in the editing.
So I kind of think of multimedia as the mortar that brings so many different stones of different shapes together. And so all of these performing artists are so unique in their experiences and their passions. So how are we gonna fit all these these things together? I think multimedia kind of eases the wheels. We found that it provided so much flexibility for us in this project. And I think in the future, if we were to continue this, whether through MIHNUET's regular visits to these places or in an entirely different program, it can be applied anywhere. I think that including multimedia actually brings people together in a way that wouldn't have been possible before.
Absolutely.
And I think also that this collaboration can translate into deeper relationships with the people in the audience as well. Because I've noticed that on our MIHNUET trips, for example, we play music, but then we'll meet people who graduated from conservatories and studied ballet, so they love to dance, or they were affiliated with a film company, just broadening the experiences that we all share also provides more opportunities for relationships.
Partly because we were doing a lot of multimedia at the time, we said, we have these tools, we're able to use them, so let's incorporate what we're able to incorporate. We had the ability to film this, we almost had this ability to film this car scene. It was a little rough with the place we picked, but no, it turned out great. And we had the ability to use the multimedia to put in that piano track on the film. We had the ability to do all of these little things that really not so much enhance the story as serve the story. We wanted everything to sort of flow. And the multimedia was I sort of thought of it as the sandpaper. It really smoothed out the edges, and it allowed us really to use all these formats of performance in ways that really we wouldn't be able to use them in other ways.
We don't really know how to verbalize what's doing to us. Which is I think, that's why movies are so great. It's because, you know, there's something magical about it. We haven't quite parsed it out yet. I'm not sure if it's like totally possible to have an all-encompassing language for how words and images at the same time affect us, but I think we're getting there, and I think this project, you know, I don't get a chance to do too much creative work, but this project allowed me to do that and really construct this story that I think ended up feeling pretty natural, which is actually, like, you know, a really powerful thing to do, to create this illusion.
We're pretty excited about the ways in which blending digital and physical communication, or digital and physical experiences, is something that students can find really rewarding. And one of the things that excited me about your project is that it was doing precisely this. It was so mixed, right, and multimodal and multi-generic. It was, yeah, I think that's one of the interesting elements of it. And who knows if that's why it has an effect, right? But certainly I think it's an interesting project for you all to undertake because it involves so many different modes of communication and creation. And I think that that's pretty exciting. One of the things that I'm particularly excited about, especially when working with sort of a new generation of students, is not merely thinking about media literacy as involving becoming a more critical consumer of media, but also of allowing students to become producers of media, multimedia, especially of visual communication. And I think that everyone is doing this kind of all the time anyways. We all have Facebook profiles. We all kind of like throw images up on the internet. We're all in a constant process of writing a multimedia autobiography, essentially, for the consumption of our friends and family, if not more than that. And I think that what's exciting about the next 10 to 20 years in the kind of literacy space is that people, hopefully, are going to become increasingly conscious about how to become better at crafting those sorts of narratives and how to do them for all sorts of different ends, not merely making your friends jealous on Facebook, but maybe all the things that you currently use text and your voice for when you move out there into the you know, the wide world and get a job and do all those things that kids do after graduating.
I was really happy to be able to participate in this project because, like with anything else, you don't know what you're getting yourself into or what it requires until you actually do it. So with this project, the film ended up being, I think, around 4 or 5 minutes long, but the amount of time that was spent doing pre-production, doing planning, doing on the actual day of the shoot, in post-production, the hours just, it was incredible, the amount of time that was put into this project. And it's something that you don't appreciate until you actually are the one doing it.
I don't know, something I knew, I understood, but didn't really feel or quite grasp in as real and immediate way is just how much of a team effort, even what you might think is like the simplest shoot can be. I could never have done this by myself. And that's one of the really cool things about this is I never would or could have done this just on my own or with a couple friends. It really took everyone's participation, from the screenwriting to the acting to, you know, it's not a glamorous job, but just being a grip and moving stuff around is like really important. It would have taken 2 to 3 times as long if we didn't have as many people just, you know, going back and forth and making sure we had everything we needed so we could get in and out as fast as possible. Also being responsible. I felt, I don't know why or if I should have, but I felt very responsible for how the shoot would go. And that really just makes you step things up to a new level. In ways you wouldn't expect, and you actually learn a lot from it, because when you really like take charge or like get to direct a situation, it's both a lot of pressure, but you're learning along the way, and you have your team to support you. There's this phrase that every editor hates that every cinematographer loves, which is, we'll fix it in post. But when you're the cinematographer and the editor, fixing in post is not as real. It's much better, really, and you really can't argue with the result. You just have a higher quality image when you nail it the first time and only have to do minor corrections in post. It's a miracle that we can do everything we can with video, but we really should be nailing the cinematography when we can.
When you're producing a theater show, you know, asking an actor to be in a small dark room for 12 hours at a time isn't a big thing to ask. It's very expected, but you know, you're working around different constraints when you're working with different people. And this project was done over probably about 2.5 weeks, and you know, so we were on a time crunch from the beginning. It's a very delicate thing to work with. I mean, we had a bunch of people involved on this project, in the production and on the performance side, and you know, every single one of those people was exhausted by the time we were done with the project. So working with everyone, you know, it really gives you a sense of, you know, how far can you push each person. You know, that was really a big part of me and Jen's job, is saying, you know, can we actually get these people to do these things, because it's a huge amount of work for us to ask of them. And you know, I mean, thankfully we had an amazing team that went above and beyond anything we could have ever asked of them. And you know, everything worked out so well because we worked together. It was a very there was a great I guess synergy would be the word for it. We worked really well together, and you know, that's sort of what I took away from it. This project wouldn't have been completed at all. I don't think one part of it would have been completed without the teamwork we all put into it. So that was one of my really good lessons that I took away from this. You know, as a producer, you have this urge to do everything yourself. You know, oh, I can do it better than they can. But, you know, it's not true, because there's 24 hours in the day, and you can't change that, and you can't do any more than that. And, you know, the way we built this show was so that every part of the show needed a different person to work on it. We compartmentalized the show so that, you know, Jen led the musicians, and she knew what needed to happen there. And then she got that done. Whereas I went with the dancers, and I know the dancers, and I know what they're capable of. So I went there and worked with them. And that teamwork allowed us to do something in 14 days that, you know, I mean, even just the film, it was I think an 8-minute film, and I mean, something on that range. We filmed it in 2 days and edited it in another 2, and something in that range would be done over a month in Hollywood. And you know, it wouldn't have been able to be done without that teamwork. So that was the big thing I took away from it.
It was not only about the inspiration for the script and the ideas that were being conveyed, but it was produced so well that you got lost in the story, and they really hit a mark there that made it. No one questioned, oh, this looks really crappy. I wonder if these kids put it together. You know, there were no questions like that. It was all about the performance and the emotions and getting into it. And there wasn't any. It was really gorgeous to watch, though, because I'd seen different iterations of the Carr film being made, and then to see the final in being screened as it was just really amazing. And I know that it meant a lot to the audience as well, because we were doing some interviews afterwards, and there was this just adorable woman. She must have been in her 80s, and she wanted to write a poem about how she felt as she was watching the production, the performance. And there were several other residents who were really touched by it. So I know that this was really meaningful on a lot of different levels.
I mean, this was a big project and a weird project.
It was very weird.
And I think a few people along the way thought that. It was a weird project to do. And,
in a good way?
Yeah, no, definitely in a good way. But by the end, I mean, the change between the excitement when we first told them about it and when they first did it, I think was massive. It was a very exciting thing to see that we were actually doing something, and we could viscerally see the effect, which a lot of times I don't think you can with these sort of projects. So that's another really great thing, that we already have this program there.
Yeah, and by weird, I think the weirder the better, because we learned so much new stuff. Like, I had no idea that Shostakovich Viola Sonata could actually go with the dance. Like, that was a completely new experience, and I know from the filming perspective, everybody learned a lot too. I am so excited because this project is so great for continuing programs throughout the year. So the C4G project we designed to be a prototype for continued multimedia collaborations. And since there are so many talented artists, performing artists, actors, musicians, visual artists even on campus, then we can draw upon all this talent and all this creativity, and most of all the warm hearts that we have on campus, to build something really great.